Welcome back to Cox Connections. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Doug Bradburn from Mount Vernon, and you're the founding director of the Washington Library. When we took a break, you were starting to talk about the educational mission of Mount Vernon, and that really leads into the library. So tell us about the library and how long it's been around and how it came to be.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very exciting project. The Mount Vernon Ladies Association, as we talked about, have this 160-year tradition of maintaining George Washington's estate. They wanted to become a more powerful educational institution, and so they raised the money to build the Museum and Education Center. They've never taken government funds. They raised all their money privately. They raised $110 million to do that. And then on the heels of that, they said, well, George Washington needs to have his own presidential library. And so they raised $106 million to build the beautiful building there and endow its programs. It opened in September of 2013, so we're really coming up on our 2-year anniversary now.
That's great. An amazing point that you take no government money, that this is all private money. Really terrific. So tell us about what the mission of the library is, what people will see there, and what is available to the public.
Well, we like to think of it as a presidential library, but really a presidential library like no other, and there's a couple of reasons for that. We're not managed by the National Archive System. Most of the other presidential libraries are modern, or the modern 20th century presidents, and all the papers are owned by the American people and managed by the National Archives. We are private, and so we are not managed by the archives, but we have a public mission, and our mission is to teach people everywhere about the life, leadership, and legacy of George Washington. So the library itself does a lot of different things. We're still collecting rare materials, expensive rare materials of George Washington. We have a number of his own books there in the library itself, and so we interpret that. We have programs for scholars to help them with their work. But we are, at our core, a research library in which the public are welcome to use it. They just have to make an appointment because we're a small staffed niche research library with a real strength on George Washington and historic preservation. But we also have public programs there. We have free book talks every month, and we live stream a lot of our programming. We have some paid member events as well. One of my favorites is a program called Lunch and Fellowship, in which we have our research fellows, some of these scholars, young academics coming up, oftentimes senior academics who work at the library. They live at the library for a month or 3 months. And then at the end of their time, they present their work to members of Mount Vernon on a luncheon event in which they're showing kind of their sneak peek of their research before it's published. And that's a lot of fun to bring together two great constituencies, the academic world and the Mount Vernon faithful, the members who help make the place work. But we also have other conferences regularly. We have a wonderful Decorative Arts and Art conference every May. We have a big George Washington Symposium every fall. And then we also have programs that are more specific to particular audiences, namely teachers. We have a teacher professionalization program out of the library that's been going on for many years, in which we bring teachers from all over the country to Mount Vernon. And then finally, our Leadership Institute, in which we bring military groups, corporate groups, nonprofit groups, and some student groups to the library to be inspired by the lessons of George Washington as a leader and really think about how to incorporate things they can learn from his own experience, failures and successes, into the own challenges we have as contemporary leaders today.
And the library is only about to turn 2 years old, so it's very new.
That's absolutely right. It's still a new, fresh space, but I feel like we've done quite a bit. Our webpage will have not only all those programs I mentioned, but it will have our digital encyclopedia, some of our digital humanities projects as well. So it really is taking its place as a leading research center for the study of early American history, as well as a leading cultural resource for people in the area here. And it really is intended to be for the public to use. Although it is a private library, it has a very public mission, which is to continue to point out the relevance, the continuing relevance of learning about George Washington.
That's great. And the website to learn more about the library?
Well, it's mountvernon.org again, and there's a link directly to the library through there.
Wonderful. Dr. Bradburn, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you here.
No, it's been my pleasure. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. There's more Cox Connections after the break.